Streaming. It sounds like an amazing time, and it seems as though everybody is doing it. So of course you want to get involved. I mean, you're playing the games anyway. You might as well stream it, right? However, once you sink your teeth into streaming, you soon realize there's a lot more than just going live every night, especially if you want to make some real progress. Thankfully, I was fortunate enough to have a chat with an amazing Australian Twitch streamer, 8-Bit Elliot, and we chatted about all things starting out in Twitch. We discussed many things, like managing burnout, deciding what to play, the importance of schedules, and we even tackled the question, variety streaming versus playing a single game on your stream. Elliot has been streaming on Twitch since 2017, so he's been here for a while. He is a Twitch and Elgato partner, and he is very well known in the content creator space in Australia. He started his content journey doing speedrun content. However, now he dabbles a lot in tech review content, and he aims to be your chill out streamer that you can just put on in the background and just chill out to. He has a lot of experience and insights in the world of streaming on Twitch. So sit back, relax, and let's learn together.
Yep.
So, with what you know now, what would you do differently if you started streaming again?
So if I started streaming again, just learn stuff. Really, like that's the big thing. I think that's that was the thing that took me the longest to sort of appreciate. Is just like there is so much to learn just by streaming. It's just like it's a wealth of knowledge. It's just like you get to learn how to do video. You get to learn how to do audio. You're basically running your own show. And yeah, just like there's so much to learn, and it's just like it's really fun to learn too.
Yeah. So you say that, but so it. I guess the question is, why did it take you so long to learn, like figure that out? Like, what was the process in order to like get
I
to that
think it
point?
was just like I wanted to make stuff. That was the biggest thing. And so like, but I wasn't appreciating how I got from A to B. It's just like I wanted to be at B, but it's just like no, I've got to actually do the thing, and it's just like okay,
You gotta
like
do
how
the
can I
A.
best do that? Yeah, you got to do A before you do B.
Yeah. Okay.
That was very much it. It was like I wanted to make the thing, but I didn't want to put the time in. But it's like, no, I need to put the time in. I need to put the effort in. I need to learn the skills. It's like, everyone wants to be successful right off the bat, but it's just like even the process of learning how to talk to a audience who isn't directly with you, like it's a lot. Like you don't,
It's
like
hard.
when you start, you don't realize that.
Yeah. Okay. So you learn, and so do you have like any resources that you refer to for learning, or do you kind of just did you learn by just doing it?
Mostly I learnt by doing back in the day because when I started, there wasn't a lot of resources. I'd like Harris Hello, I think, was just starting out. He's an abundance of resources like on YouTube. But like, yeah, YouTube now, so much like useful information there.
Yeah.
And yeah, just being able to like, yeah, when I started, none of that was there. It was just like there was one microphone you bought, and that was it. And it's just like you used OBS, you couldn't do anything fancy with it. And you just had like a camera and you had your gameplay, and that was it.
I guess that's the thing. Like, so over the years, as it's become more popular, more people are doing it and trying it. The need to separate each other has kind of grown. So like all these tools have become a lot more complicated, a lot more diverse, and like then like there's more flashy things that happen in like OBS to help each other stand out. So there's been all that's kind of happened. Do you find yourself looking to YouTube for resources and stuff like that still?
All the time. More so for other stuff that I'm learning. So I'm doing a bit more video editing these days because like OBS and streaming, I feel like I have that pretty down pat. I've been doing this for years, but how do I promote my stream? That's a completely other like beast in itself. And so like one of the big things is like being able to package your content in a way that people can find and people can find relatable in a short form capacity that then encourages them to watch the long form capacity. But a lot of that comes down to editing, and like there is so much resources out there about just editing and learning how to do that effectively. So you're not spending 6 hours on a small piece of like content. Like you really need to be able to sort of bang that
Do
stuff out,
efficiently.
but that takes
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. Well, I guess because you're like a one-man band situation. It's not like you've got a team that can edit for you, or you don't have the budget to pay for someone. So you've got to figure it out yourself, but you need to be able to do it efficiently so you can like pump the content out.
That's it.
Otherwise you're not going to be able to keep up. Because how often do you stream a week?
So I do 3 times a week.
Mm,
So I do Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I have a
yep.
break in between, and then weekends, are typically for me and my wife to spend time together. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, like the Tuesday, Thursday, that's when I'm editing. That's when I'm sort of coming up with ideas for videos. That's sort of when I'm sort of brainstorming and just doing all the sort of back end stuff that
Yeah.
is kind of required to do, to be a bit more consistent and not have to burn out all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, because it can be quite tough. Like, well, it's full on. There's a lot to do, and especially when you're doing like if you're considering editing long form videos. I've tried it, and long form like live streams. So, and you're talking about making that digestible. So, do you have like a kind of strategy that you're looking to do in that space to like make
So
your content more digestible?
so for my stuff, it's a bit harder. Like, I mean, all sort of advertising of content is hard, but it's about sort of getting the right vibe across because I'm a very laid back, chilled, variety sort of cozy
Mm,
streamer. That's a
mm,
hard thing to sell on, say, like TikTok, where it's like you need to be loud, you need to be a bit more flashy. Like, so
yeah.
I actually have to differentiate my content a little bit on those other platforms to be like, oh, like here's a different offering, and then the Twitch side of things is just a more laid back, like, hey, we're just hanging out type of thing. Whereas like my social media offerings are just completely different.
Okay. So
So
what channels? Sorry, go ahead.
no, you're good.
So what channels do you actually like promote your content through?
So my main one these days, the most successful one is Twitter. I get a lot of traction on Twitter. Otherwise, it's TikTok, Instagram, and then I'm trying to do a bit more YouTube stuff these days as well.
Okay. And how effective are you finding them like to get back to your stream?
So do you mean in a sense of just like directing people to the
Yeah.
stream? So
Yeah.
it's a bit hit and miss sometimes, honestly, because there's that sort of constant algorithm change. You're always chasing something, um,
Mm,
and so what may have worked last week doesn't work this week. I find that just like pure Twitch clips don't work, right? So
yeah.
you need to put a lot of time and energy and resources into sort of making them TikTok friendly, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yep.
And
I
and
think there was a stage back last year or the year before, and like Twitch clips were just like abundant on
yeah,
TikTok. Like it was
no,
just
exactly. And then they're like, "Oh, this is driving people away from our website. We're not going to push that as much.
yeah.
We're gonna kind of yeah." Because that's the one thing I've learned is just like every platform wants to keep you there, and they don't
Hmm.
like you sending people other places. But that's
Yeah.
where Twitch thrives. Twitch thrives on wanting you to bring people to them and to onto your content. So they encourage you to be on other platforms. It's just those other platforms are just like, no, we only want you here.
Mm. So I guess there's an importance in the external content that you make to have a bit of brand presence,
Mm.
to make sure that you're actually directing people back to your Twitch. Do you like in your content? Do you actually actively do that, or are you kind of been taking a bit more of a passive approach? Because there's probably two
It's
different strategies there.
Yeah, so for me, it's a bit more of a passive approach. It's more of just like, oh, like being in the sphere enough that people recognize you when you're like when your
Mhm.
content comes up and be like, okay, this person's consistently coming up on my feed, and then
Yeah,
maybe they go on Twitch or maybe they're looking on YouTube or they're on the other platforms because like everyone's on every platform. Like we all watch YouTube, we all watch TikTok, we all engage with Instagram. Um,
mm.
Maybe I'm just chronically online, so I gotta keep that one in mind. But like so if they're seeing me, they're like, oh, hey, that's that guy I've been seeing on TikTok a little bit. Like hey,
Yeah,
like I like that guy's stuff. I'll look at him there. It's just being about sort of having that sort of being able to be recognized in a space where
yeah,
it's just like you're not really anyone.
yeah. I guess I think the term is omnipresent.
Yes, omnipresent. You got to be omnipresent everywhere on social media.
Yeah, and that's tough. It's really tough because
It
it's
is.
there's so many different platforms, and there's a lot of different strategies. So if you were a new streamer, getting into Twitch, what
Mhm.
would be like how would you get started?
So
Like in Twitch again, like if you were to start streaming, what would you be first thing you'd be doing?
as well, so first thing I'd be doing is you're just streaming to Twitch and just sort of learning the process of streaming and learning how to talk to an audience that might not necessarily be there. Like talk to
Mm,
zero viewers for a while, and
yeah.
learn that process of being able to talk to no one but still have engaging content. Learn how to review your content and be able to watch your stuff back. I think one of the biggest things that I
Oh,
learned,
that's the
yeah.
hardest thing.
No, we've all been there, but it's just like if I can't watch my own stuff,
Mm.
that's an issue, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Like
good
if
good
I
point.
can't make it through my own video, if I can't make it through my own edit without getting bored and being like, "Ah, geez, like what is this?" It's like, well, that's
Mm.
what the viewer's gonna feel. So, but that's not a
Well,
point of
actually,
just
the viewer is going to feel that like compounded because
yeah,
like you're at
exactly,
least a little bit fond of yourself,
yeah,
so you can sustain a little bit more than the
yeah.
average audience. So you can be like, oh, yeah, this is all right, and then you might start getting bored like 10 minutes in. If you're getting
Mm.
bored 10 minutes in, they're probably getting bored 1 minute in.
Yeah, like that's it. And it's like cuz you know what's coming. They don't know what's coming. And it's just like okay, like you've got to
Mm,
sort of learn how to deal with those expectations a little bit and like that's a very just sort of core building block. And then outside of that when you feel that you're sort of ready to sort of start ad I say advertising very loosely.
yeah,
It's more
promoting.
about just promoting, but like more just engaging with the community more than
Yeah,
anything. It's just like finding a group of people that you gel with and sort of really are comfortable with, and then sort of that like um and being on those social media platforms and engaging with other creators or content that's similar to yours and just being like oh hey like and then just putting it out there and being like I also do this. You don't comment on people's stuff being like I also do. It's like no, you just engage a community
yeah.
and you try and be one of the community members and that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's like, well, like you obviously you're a big fan of speedrunning, so you'd be like in the
Mm,
speedrunning community. It's like I like
yeah.
speedrunning too,
Yeah,
and
like
then
you'd
you
just
just
be like that's exactly it. You'd just be like, "Hey, like I'm watching speed runs, like I'm engaged in those communities, and then like if you're watching something and be like, oh, I like somebody's having trouble with like a certain trick or something, you can be like, oh, like I really struggle with this as well, and then
mm,
that gets a conversation going and all that sort of stuff. But like it's always you want to do that stuff in the with the sort of mindset of being wanting to be part of a community, not doing it to promote yourself, if that makes sense.
yeah. Well, actually, I actually just listened to a podcast on the way home from work today, and it talked about this exact thing, and it was about being a giving person, and
Mm,
being a giver and not a taker.
yeah,
So, like when you go to a job interview or if you go to situations and stuff like that, go with the mindset of that you're going to be providing something to someone, like giving a service or
yeah,
giving something, rather than going there and taking. And this kind of works in a lot of branding and stuff. So I actually, I was listening to the podcast was on Simon Sinek, who's a huge in like the marketing space, and he's all about um, not putting the brand first. So like a lot of brands, especially old school brands, they'll put the brand in front, websites, and talk
yeah,
about me and stuff like that. And and content creators I've seen they do this too. They just like, oh, brand me, I've done this, look at this,
yeah.
and so they're all just take me, take me, take me. Whereas like if you go in and you want to provide something to the community, it's a little
Mm.
bit on the reverse, and I think people like connect with that a little bit more.
Yeah, yeah, no, definitely. That's why I love sort of Australian advertising scene because it's done in such a way where it's just like a lot of the time they're not actually talking about like the products that they're like trying to advertise. It's normally something just
Yeah.
really dumb, and I think people just really resonate with that a bit more because it's just like we know we're being sold something here. Like, give us something entertaining to watch. At
Mm.
the end of the day. So I always
Oh,
love that type of advertising a lot more, because
but I
if I'm
guess
watching an advert and I'm just like, okay, get back to the show. But if there's if there's a funny joke in there, I'm just like, all right. I see what you did there.
There's a bit of give and take, you know.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with any kind of content creation. You know, you're providing something of value or of service
Mm,
to an audience.
yep.
So like this particular YouTube series is all here to help creators be better,
Yeah.
and so that's what I'm trying to put forward. And like you would yourself, you're trying to create this community for people to just be comfortable and have fun and stuff like that. So you're trying to provide things rather than expecting something from someone, and I think that's
Yeah.
an important shift in mindset.
Yeah, no, there definitely needs to just be that value to the person who's watching. Like you've got to
Yeah,
provide something. If you're not really providing anything, people are going to kind of stop watching. That's kind of
that's
a
that's the
very
hardest
harsh
part.
reality.
It is a harsh reality, and it's something you need to figure out pretty early on. And
Mm.
in streaming, it can be very hard to do that. Like so, I guess I'll circle this back to you. Like, what do you do? I kind of did just cover on it, but like, what is your main thing that you try to provide for your community?
Mine is just like a point of almost like escapism a little bit.
Mm,
My content is more, or like my Twitch content more specifically, is more geared around being almost like a podcast, almost like a talkback radio type situation where you're listening to it while you're working, you're listening to it while you're doing your day to day,
mm,
and it's just sort of providing that sort of background where that if they then want to shift focus and just sort of escape from their 9 to 5 for 2 minutes and just listen to some dumb guy on the internet make a stupid joke, like that's there, but it's relaxed enough that they can just have it on in the background for the majority of the day.
okay. And so how much? So back on that, how much of your content do you actually prepare in advance? Like,
So Twitch related, it's these days a lot of it is pretty on the fly. Unless I'm doing some sort of larger event or I'm doing something that's a bit more thought out and planned in advance. A lot of it is just like, okay, I've got my set schedule. Monday I'm doing Minecraft. Wednesday I'm doing a Zelda, and then Friday we're doing Minecraft again. I just sort of keep to uh that sort of schedule, and then people
Mhm.
know what to expect.
Yeah, okay. So how do you communicate like what's happening in your stream to your community? Because I'd imagine a lot of your community are mainly on Twitch, but how much of your community do you find engage with you in other channels?
So a lot of them do sort of engage with my social medias, but a lot of because it's such a different offering. It's not
Mm,
like a hey, I'm live now. Hey, this is the schedule this week. I kind of
mm,
rely on Twitch to do that. I'd be like, hey, like this is and I've done that by just being consistent for
yeah.
X amount of years at this point, where it's just like, oh, okay, Elliot is going to be live, this day at this time. Um,
Mm,
and if I'm not going to be live, and if I know that in advance,
yeah.
I'll be communicating that on stream so that they know in advance. If they're
Okay.
watching,
Yeah.
if I'm like, hey, next week change your schedule, we can't do Wednesday, but we're doing Tuesday instead. Like I
Yeah.
communicate that, but I try and give
Okay.
enough time that they know.
Yep. Because I kind of think, like, I look at a lot of creators and I kind of, I analyze everyone all the time. Bit of a
Mm.
character flaw on my part, um, but like I see other streamers, they'll post on like Twitch, not Twitter, sorry, on Twitter,
Yeah.
that they're going live now, and more often than not, though, unless they're a massive streamer or a massive creator,
Mm.
maybe like one or two likes.
Yeah.
Um, and so I kind of wonder the value in doing that. Do you think it's worthwhile doing those messages? Because I find a lot of the Twitter community aren't necessarily your viewers; they're actually other
Yeah.
creators. So
Yeah.
like, where is the audience at?
So I don't think it's a case of like you shouldn't do one thing or another. Like
Mm,
if you feel it's worth it, why not give it a shot? If it's not
yeah,
performing, maybe change the method that you're doing. I think it comes back to a lot of what I mentioned earlier, where a lot of platforms they don't want you sending people away from their website. So
that's
if
right.
you
Yeah,
like, I've noticed definitely within the last year or so, Twitter does not like links. that linked elsewhere, right?
No.
So I've seen people do some really interesting stuff to sort of get the message across to their community that they are live, but
Mm.
on Twitter. Um, and that was just like there's one that's just like people like writing twitch.tv/ their username, but writing it in really weird, like almost uh uh leet speak. Do you remember leet speak? It's
No,
where
I don't.
it's where you have like a combination of like letters and numbers, and it was
Oh.
early 2000s. It was like really cool internet talk.
Oh, okay. I
Yeah.
didn't know it had an official name, but
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
I've seen people do that. Yeah, it's just about packaging it in an interesting way. If it's just a going live
Mm.
tweet being like, hey everyone, I'm going live, like, right now, it's just like, okay, like, not I
Yeah,
don't feel that that's gonna do much for you, but yeah, it's just about packaging it and in an
I think
interesting way.
you've got a good point. So like from what I know in marketing and about algorithms and all that whatnot, is that all of the social media platforms, they'll downplay links in posts. So the organic click-through rate is reduced on any
Yep.
post that has a link going to an external site because they just don't want you to do it unless you've boosted it,
Yeah.
because that's then making the money.
If you pay
So
money, it's fine.
yeah, oh, well, we'll show as many people as you want. It's like, well, it's counterproductive. But so
You're
there's
gonna run out of money very quickly, but like,
well, I mean, it could be a viable strategy provided
mm,
it's got the turnaround, but I don't think the internet's geared that way.
no, definitely not. I don't think so.
No. So I guess as you said, it's about being creative with how you're kind of getting that message across to people. Uh, I don't know. It could be, you create the post and then in Twitter, for example, put the link in like the comment. So people have been doing threads style
Yeah,
posts
no,
on
people
Twitter
definitely do
lately.
that. Yeah, I've seen that a few times. There's a handful of ways that you can do it. I've seen people make their own sort of animations, so they just upload a video and it's just like a going live video, um, as opposed
Hmm.
to it being a link, and then just encouraging people to bring them aware, because you would hope that the people who are following you on social media already know that you're on Twitch, and it's just like it's just a reminder, right? It's not
Yeah.
like you're not trying to reach a new audience, you're trying to reach your current audience a lot of
Mm.
the time.
Another interesting point, which may throw a bit of a spanner in the works on how the algorithms work, is not everyone will see the posts. Twitter's
No.
probably a bit easier because I think it is a little bit more linear,
Mm,
but unless you're like, unless someone's frequently engaging with your content, and unless other
yep.
people engage with that content to tell Twitter's algorithm that it's a popular post, it might not necessarily get the traction anyway. So there's a bit
Yeah.
of a weird
Yeah, a
balance
going
there.
live tweet really, it doesn't mean anything 5 hours after stream. So that's where it's just about like making it like interesting, where it's not necessarily a going live stream, it like going live tweet. It's just an interesting post, right?
Mm.
That's what I used to do for the longest time. Was just like I would try and have just an interesting post, and I would post that at the start of stream and hope that that would get like enough engagement or whatever.
Ah,
And then people are like, oh, like I remember Elliot.
he
Like, what's
just
he
happens
doing?
to be going live,
Yeah, he just happens to be live right now, and it's just sort of that
Okay,
putting it in there. And then
that's
outside of that, it's still holding value.
yeah. So I think so. That's a really good strategy, and for anyone that do those going live now posts, and I'm guilty of it. Like, you got to try
Oh,
it
so
out.
am I. I'm still
Um,
guilty of it.
well, so that's a really good strategy. So rather than just doing the generic going live, which is, I guess, technically you would call that lazy marketing, um, do something like worth some like create a post that provides value to someone,
Mm.
and then do that just before you go live. That way, it gets an engagement as it goes through the cycles. But then someone might go, "Oh, this person's actually live right now," and then it's got that flow on effect.
Yeah, that's definitely the hard part with like social media, just sort of marketing towards your other content. It's just like
Mm,
it's just about making people be aware of you more than anything else,
yeah,
and just like you end
brand
up just
presence.
having to provide value on all these different platforms, and then yeah, hoping that there's sort of a bridge across a little bit.
Yeah. So if you're just starting out, would you like how would you approach going through those channels? Like, would you focus on just one, or would you try and dabble in all of them? What would you
I
recommend?
would focus my energy on one.
Yeah,
Social, like they're all their own different beasts, right? I
yeah.
still don't understand Instagram as much as I try. Like they went through a change like probably about 2 or 3 years ago, and I've
Hmm.
never been able to figure it out since then.
Well,
It used to be a lot more
so
like,
yeah, so it used to be very linear based, similar to how Facebook used to be back in the day when it was just
yeah,
like, someone posted it was in the timeline, and they shifted it to being an algorithm that was based on engagement.
yeah,
And so that's basically it. And same thing as Facebook is it's all about boosted posts and serving you ads and serving
yep,
you content that you engage with. That's basically the gist of it. So that's how it changed. And
yeah.
it just changed a lot later than Facebook did.
No, that's exactly it. But yeah, and it's like I've never been able to wrap my head around that as much. So that's why like still Twitter's my best performing one
Mm.
as much as Twitter just like annoys me. It's just
Oh,
like
it's just a beast,
that's
isn't it?
it's so annoying.
It's just like one massive opinion piece, right?
It
It's
really is.
like it's like
Um
everyone's opinions on there.
but like that's where especially for streaming, like that's where streamers are, and like we
Mm.
haven't gravitated towards any other platform yet. There's a little bit of traction on Threads, um
Yeah.
but for the bulk of it, the majority of people are on Twitter. If you're wanting to engage streamer discourse and engage other streamer communities, like Twitter
Yeah.
is that place. But like I think if you're more interested in sort of developing an audience of your own that's not based around a streamer
Creatives.
audience,
Yeah.
yeah, creatives, your best bet would be to do TikTok or Reels or something like that, and
Mm.
make interesting content there, and but it just needs to be a little bit more focused than say streaming content.
Yeah, so and I've done this before. Like I've tested it out, and I know a lot of other content creators that have tested it out. Is you can't take your stream content and just put it onto TikTok. It just
Yep.
doesn't work.
No,
It's got to be
you
like
have to
it's got to be
repackage
tailored
it.
for
You got to
TikTok.
do something. You got to do something.
Yeah, unless it's something like just insanely funny or cool or niche or something like that. That's just it pops off. It's very
Yeah.
unlikely to do well. And I know it's hard to say like you can't. It's hard to say that because like you look at some of the biggest top performing content creators out there and they can just do it and it pops off. So like, the thing is their audience was already there.
Yep.
Like they
That's
already had
exactly
the
it.
audience, so they
Yep.
can get away with just doing that. And so it paints a bit of an unfair picture.
Yeah.
But that being said, though, that's probably their like their worst performing content. So
Mm,
if someone takes off a clip from their TikTok, some big content creator, I can't think of any off the top of my head at the moment, but then they put it on TikTok, it'll pop off and it looks fantastic in our eyes, where we're getting 500 views, but
yeah.
and it's getting like 100,000, but some of their more tailored posts are probably getting like millions. So
Yeah.
it's really like it's skewing your perspective a little bit there too.
Yeah. It's just like you've got to curate content for the platform that you're posting it on.
Mm, yeah, and because you're not creating the content, you're creating content for that platform's audience and
Yeah.
what they're used to.
Yeah.
So someone on TikTok's used to the the quick hit of of like endorphins when they watch a funny video and they scroll up and they see like a weird weirdly cropped video
Yeah.
clip of someone playing a game and just reacting
Mm,
to like something. It's like they're not expecting that. Like it might be appeal to Twitch streamers,
yeah.
but they're not as abundant on Twitch
Mm.
creators or Twitch viewers, but they're not as abundant on TikTok as the
Yeah,
TikTok
no, that's
viewers are.
exactly it. Like the gaming sort of niche on these platforms is significantly like gamers are everywhere, but like sort of the gaming niche and the people who watch gaming content that's not the vast majority. There's still just like it's a large amount, don't get me wrong, but like the bulk of people will not engage with that content. It's so annoying how many people just will not engage with like game. As soon as they see gaming, they're just like, nah, I'm not interested. Get it out of here. And it's just like, if that's what your content is, like, it's like, oh, okay, this is just an audience I'm never going to reach.
Yeah, yeah. And that's, I guess that's the thing to kind of keep in mind. There's a whole another kettle of fish on TikTok, and I'll make a whole another video on that altogether. Okay, so coming back to Twitch, so how important is the schedule? You kind of touched on this a little bit earlier.
I think it's incredibly important, and it's about finding a schedule that works for you, right? Like,
Mm.
yes, like Twitch is one of those unique platforms where like there is a level of organic growth that you can do on Twitch. It is very limited though, but the way you take advantage of it is just by being consistent and being, you know, you only grow on Twitch while you're live, essentially. So if you're not live, you're not growing on Twitch unless you've got, followers coming from outside sources. Then
Mm.
they're not like, people don't really watch VODs on Twitch unless they're already a fan of yours and they've
Yeah,
already seen part of that stream. That's really the
yeah.
only sort of user case scenario where people watch VODs. So
Okay, interesting.
in terms of just like, trying to, sorry, I've lost my train of thought.
Building your audience on Twitch, and the
Yeah,
importance of schedules.
scheduling. That's right. That's what I was talking about. Scheduling. Sorry, I just
It's all
completely
right.
lost it. No, scheduling. So yeah, scheduling is important. It's important to,
I mean, if we go around with a net, we might be able to catch it. Your train of
that's
thought.
it. That's it. No, scheduling it's important. Like you need, it needs to work for you and your life, right? It's very easy to be like, I'm going to be live, you know, 5 days a week for 5 hours. I could not do that. Like and I think
It's like
there's
going
a,
to work. It's like going to work 9 to 5, and then not and just being like nose to the grindstone for the
yeah.
whole 8 hour shift. Like,
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. And I think there's definitely like a level of just like it's you need to accommodate for life to happen as well,
mm,
because that's what makes you unique. That's what separates you from every other streamer. That's what separates us all apart, is our own life experiences. So if we
mm,
just don't experience life and we're just live every single hour of the day, it's just like, I've got nothing to talk about.
huh.
So
That's actually quite
there's a benefit
profound.
of just scheduling just time to live, you know?
Yeah, yeah. You would have something to talk about other than like what I did last night on my stream.
Yeah. That's exactly it. And like, you don't have to give every bit of detail about your life, but like, it's just like, oh, like,
Mm,
hey, I went out to, lunch with the family on the weekend. You know, I went out and into the city for an event or whatever. Like, but if you're constantly live and you're just exhausted, because like streaming can just be very, it's surprising how exhausting it can be, just like not
yeah,
physically, but like
mentally.
emotionally, because you're just on. You have to be on all the time.
Mm.
So,
Yeah, you're constantly checking for chat, and if
mm,
they are chatting, you're engaging with them.
no,
You're
that's
playing the
exactly it.
game, you're like engaging with the game as well.
Yeah,
You're talking to someone who's not there the entire time for like 2 hours straight. It's like having a full on conversation with someone for
yeah,
2 hours straight.
yeah. No, it absolutely is, and like that can be exhausting. So if you're not scheduling yourself to have a bit of like you time and a bit of like
Mm,
away time, that ultimately is just like sort of detrimental, and you're going to run into burnout a lot faster.
yeah, yeah. Well, I am definitely a victim of that. When I first started streaming and I started like just like, things were going really well. I was like, keep going, keep going, keep going. And then I
Mm,
eventually hit burnout. And when you hit the burnout stage, if you don't recognize it, you start getting like a little bit more like hard on yourself.
yep.
And then, you start tearing yourself apart. And then, you start viewing everything from the bad perspectives. And that's when like your mental health just like takes a plummet. And it can be really hard to come back from that. And like I had a couple of stages when I was streaming a lot more where like, you know, could have given it up. I could have like just call it quits. I had a lot of some pretty bad rough patches, and it's all just due to like trying like just constant like non-stop without any breaks.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because like I think that is something that we every creator, every really not even just create limited to creators, just everyone runs
Mm,
out into burnout of some
mm,
sort in their life, and it's
yeah,
just about like it's how you deal with it, and you know, recognizing there's a lot more recognition that it is a real thing these days. There's not like a, oh no, you're
yeah,
fine, just push through it. And I think that's good because you know it allows you to take a step back and get a little bit of perspective and be like, okay, this I need to just, you know, step
yeah,
back, breathe a little. I can't keep doing this, otherwise I'm just not going to enjoy it anymore. Like, because
yeah,
that's really what's at risk is you're at risk of, you know, losing something that you enjoy because you
yeah,
turned it into it's, you know, becomes such a stressful endeavor, and or you're too worried about growth metrics or whatever it is.
yeah,
um Growth metrics are like that's the one that gets a lot of people. They're just like, I
yeah,
why can't I keep, you know, because we all like seeing that bar, just like that line just go up, but like at
yeah,
some time, at some point it's gonna plateau a little bit, and you need to be okay with that.
yeah. You need to accept it. It's hard. It's
Yeah, it's
mentally
very
draining to
exactly.
cop that, and yeah, I actually did give up streaming, and it was more due to the fact that I had a baby, and I didn't have the time, and I just had to say, look, I can't do it. But
Mm,
to scratch that creative itch, I actually turned to YouTube.
yeah,
So because what was happening was streaming was overtaking my enjoyment for gaming, and I wasn't able to enjoy the games because I felt like, if I wanted to sit down and play it, I was feeling guilty for not streaming it for my
yeah,
audience. And so I had to take a step back from it. But YouTube is like, okay, I'll play the game. I don't have to entertain anyone, and then I can do the entertaining later when I make the video about it.
yeah,
And that was kind of my way around it.
yeah. No, that's actually that's a really good point because like even if you find out that streaming isn't for you, because like I think there are a lot of people who have a similar situation where it's just like they were streaming, life happened, and now they're not streaming, but
Mm,
you know they still would really love the process. They still really love the process of making something and entertaining people. And it's just
mm,
like, okay, like maybe just streaming that outlet of creativity isn't for you. So maybe it
yep.
is like short form video content that's a bit more, you know, you know, not as time consuming. And maybe maybe it's long form video content where it's a bit more curated and you can have a bit more time to, you know, post it and edit it and just take your time with it. And
Yep.
there's not that need to just be, I need to be live at this time, right? Like that's a very daunting thing for a lot of people. So
Mm,
there is just like just accepting that like, hey, maybe streaming just isn't for you, but like try give something else a shot. There's no harm in it.
yeah.
It's as long
Yeah.
as you're
Exactly.
enjoying it.
And I've had more success doing YouTube than I have
Mm,
on streaming, just because. Well, I mean, I just made better use of the time that I had.
yeah.
Having kids makes you realize that time you've got is quite precious, so you're more efficient. um, but yeah, no, it was a good turnaround. But it's like, yeah, that changed my perspective like of that. But I have thought about going back to streaming. That I get a bit more time on my hands, although
Mm.
another kid might be on the cards soon. So we've got that to contend with. But yeah, I have thought about coming back to streaming and being a little bit more strict on myself, like with a schedule.
Yeah.
So I think that was one of my big learning experiences.
Yeah. Another thing that people I do sort of admire people uh when they're able to accomplish this, because like I've never been able to accomplish it, is like they use their streams as a means of recording for their longer form content. So
Mm,
it's not necessarily just about, you know, it's not, they're not turning their streams and cutting them down. It's they're deliberately getting footage, or they're deliberately just sort of experiencing the game so that they can then make short form content about it later on, but
yep.
just using some of that footage. It's just being smart with how you go about, you know, treating long form versus shorter form.
Yeah. I have seen some creators do that really well, and I feel like it's a bit of a skill. Um,
It definitely is.
but I think you got to have the theme for your video sorted. So
Yes.
because you're kind of combining the two, right? Or
Yes.
you're using Twitch as like your recording studio. So personally, and I have tried it. So my videos, and I find what works well for me is I do long form without a face cam, and it's just
Yeah.
voiceover, and I read through a script and kind of just narrate what I've done.
Yeah.
And I have considered doing that for Twitch, but the thing is, when I do that when I want to go live on Twitch, I prefer having a face cam because I think it's more personal.
Yeah.
But that doesn't translate well when I do it live, so I'd have to remove a face cam, which
Mm.
reduces the effectiveness of the Twitch.
Yeah.
So you've got to really think it, and then there's the YouTube side of it is of like, okay, what's the video going to be about? Why is someone going to watch this?
Yeah.
And then you got to try and translate that into a YouTube long form version.
Yeah. So one of my favorite examples of creators using sort of Twitch to create sort of shorter form content is I'm not sure if you're familiar with Hermitcraft. It's a
No.
Minecraft server essentially. It's just a lot of it's more intended for a bit of more of a mature audience. It's still family friendly, sort of young family vibes. Um, but it's a lot of those streamers, they'll stream themselves working on a project that's going to take them 8 hours, right? So it's just like,
Yep.
well, I'm gonna be live. I'm gonna be making this thing for this
Mm,
video, and it's just like it's a little bit of just a different avenue for the content, because the videos versus the streams are completely different vibes, but
mm,
it's just a different outlet, which is really cool.
yeah.
It's
I think
just
that's
supplemental content,
yeah.
I guess.
This is a a very good point, and um, like it could be something like definitely worth something exploring, especially if you have the time and you've got the capacity to do the editing and stuff like that
Mm,
yourself. I wouldn't mind giving it a crack. My only problem with that is that what I've really enjoyed about doing this via YouTube is that I have that time to enjoy the game still,
yeah.
personally.
Oh
So
yeah,
like,
yeah.
I played through Baldur's Gate 3 times
Mm.
for YouTube, and I was just able to play through it,
Yeah.
and I could pause it, and it really was useful for me when my daughter was younger, a newborn, because I could just pause and go and help where I needed to, and I could pause
Yeah.
the recording. When you're live, it's a little bit harder to be more flexible.
It's I the last game I played by myself for myself was
Mm,
the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
yeah,
I did not stream that, and that was just such a weird experience
yeah.
because I've
Were you
spent
talking to yourself? Like,
a little bit. I was but I was able to get through the game a lot faster as well, because
yeah.
I'm focused. Like, I'm not having to, use that mental energy on talking to chat. I'm just
Mm,
able to focus on one thing. I'm not worrying, hey, did I read this message? I'm not worrying, oh, did I thank that person for subscribing? Oh, is the stream buffering or whatever? I'm not worrying
mm.
about anything. I'm just enjoying the game, and it's such a just a different experience that like, because the majority of my gaming is done on stream these days. Like, I don't
Yeah,
do a whole lot of gaming outside of stream, so it's just like
that's
it's
it. Yeah,
very
it's
weird.
interesting. Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, hopefully, hopefully we haven't sparked a new desire for you to stop streaming games.
No, I that's the thing, because the flip side of
Mm,
it is that you get to share an experience with people,
yeah.
and like that's so special, and that's the sort of really great thing about streaming, is because you get to build up that connection with your community, with your viewers, and then you get to experience these moments together, whether that's in a game or whether you're doing a cooking stream or whatever. You get to just
Mm.
have these moments together, and so that's something really special.
Yeah, okay. Well, it's a very, well, I mean, that was always the appeal for me when I was streaming as well, and I think that's the appeal for a lot of people is that you're sharing experiences. It takes me back to when I was like, a bit younger. You'd be playing games and your friends over, and they just sit next to you watching you play the game and getting through the story, and you're both like freaking out about something
Yeah.
in the game. Like that's what it's reminiscent of those times.
No, very much, I agree.
Variety streaming versus playing just a single game. This
Yeah.
obviously comes up a lot in the community and a lot with
Yes.
creators. So a lot of people tend to think, well, there's an argument here. Variety streaming's harder to do, especially when you're newer, because your audience doesn't necessarily enjoy the same things.
Yep.
Whereas a single game, you can get bored of it.
Yep.
What's your thoughts on this? Like, what do you do?
I think both statements are there is true. It's
Yeah.
one of those
Yep.
things where just like everybody's saying the correct thing. It's just none of
Mm,
them are more correct than the other. It's just like yeah, like variety streaming is definitely a lot harder because because you haven't niched down, so you don't have that build up of like a loyal base who are just like really into Stardew Valley or whatever, right?
yeah.
Um, where but like where I think people can sort of but like you will burn out very quickly if you're just playing like the one game. Like I've played Stardew Valley for years and years and years. I'm starting now to get to the point where I'm just like, I can't I've done everything. There's only so many times I can do the community center. um
Yep.
and stuff like that. So like you do have to sort of, and then it becomes like okay, well, like what if I, instead of trying to focus on a specific game, why don't I do a specific genre, right? If you're
So you
doing,
out a little bit.
yeah, you've got a bit broad of a circle, but it's not so broad of a circle that it encompasses everything, right? Because if you're going
Yeah.
from one day playing The Sims 4 to playing Diablo 4, those are two very different
Very
crowds.
different games. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
but hey, like maybe you're doing The Sims, right? That's a bit more of a cozy vibes. It's like, okay, like Sims people, Sims viewers enjoy Animal Crossing.
The
They
simulation.
enjoy
Yeah. Animal
Stardew.
Crossing. Yep.
They
Yep.
enjoy these sort of more laid back experiences where it's just like if you're playing, Diablo 4, i- other ARPGs like Last Epoch, Path of
Yep.
Exile, all of that sort of games, like there is sort of room to move around there. Um,
Yep.
and yeah, it's definitely just about finding that good mix of games where
Mm.
you don't feel like you're bogged down or tied to a specific title, I
Yeah.
think.
You almost pick like a subgenre
Yeah.
instead of a game. You go, okay, or maybe you start as a game,
Yeah,
until
no,
you find your
absolutely.
feet, and
Start as a
then
game.
okay, how do I branch out into a new like a subgenre that's kind of encompasses that game, and then you
Mm,
can kind of, once you get comfortable in that subgenre, then you can branch out again to an external subgenre that kind of maybe has some crossover elements.
mm,
Like a good example would be like competitive games. Maybe start with Overwatch, then go into like Valorant, and then maybe you can go into like the MOBA scene if you're that way inclined, and then you're starting to branch out into like these three different pockets of games. But I guess you won't know until you've tried it as well.
yeah. That's the
Because like,
thing. A lot of the time with streaming, it is trial and error.
mm,
And you really do just have to not be afraid of failing.
mm,
Because we're all going to fail at some point. We're all going to push an idea, and it's just not going to work. The amount of ideas that I've tried, and it's just like I've fallen flat on my face, and it just hasn't worked. It's like I can't count that high anymore. like the amount of failures to the amount of successes is just like it's day and night. But
mm,
I think it's important to try new things, to try and do different stuff and try and mix it up every now and then, because that's how you learn about what you like creating and what
mm,
defines you as a creator, or helps define you as a creator, and
yeah.
you just get a better sense of how to create content as well.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean it's a good point, and you also might you might explore and find things that your audience do like.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
you might try this, and the audience just go, "Oh, that's fantastic. We like this."
Yeah.
And yeah, I guess you won't know until you give it a crack.
Yeah, and there's also a bit of like something to keep in mind of is a little bit of viewer burnout. Like
Mm,
viewers, if I'm playing nothing but Minecraft for 6 months, there
hmm,
is there's a portion of my audience that will love that. They will love every single Minecraft stream, and they will be there. And like I am so grateful for them. But there's
yeah.
also another portion of my audience that might not, that they'll watch 3 months of that, and then they're like, okay, like I've seen
I'm
enough Minecraft for a
I'm
little bit.
bored.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
like, yeah, hey, like I want to see something a little bit different. So I try and have like a two game strategy going on where I'm just like, I'm playing through every single Zelda title in, release order, but I'm
Mm,
only doing that on Wednesdays. So
yeah.
it
Yep.
stretches that that topic in itself, you could probably smash out in a month or two, like realistically. Um, but because I've done it specifically on one day, it's stretched out to several months of content, but it's still engaging enough. It's still broken up with Minecraft that people kind of, like that little once a
I
week
like the balance.
reset. And then it gives a
Yeah.
little bit of and then it adds a little bit of, when we do return back to Minecraft, it adds a little bit of just like, oh, like, where were we? Like, okay, like, let's reset a little bit. What are we doing again? Okay, like,
Mm.
now we can reset. It's, you get that
It
tiny
takes
little bit
it.
of a reset.
Yeah, and you're getting a bit of a break from Minecraft, so you yourself as a creator aren't getting burnt out from Minecraft.
So useful for that. Like, genuinely,
Yeah,
that's the biggest thing as to
because
why
the
I
last
did
thing you
that,
want to
was
be
just to
doing,
not burn out.
the last thing you want to do is go to bed and then like be dreaming in bricks, you know?
Oh, I've had
Like-
those dreams. Like, I've been playing Minecraft since like 2011 or whatever. So like I remember being in high school and like I had a dream about Minecraft. I'm just like, this is like, no, I'm playing too much of this game. I need to take a step back for a minute.
So when Baldur's Gate first came out, I had Baldur's Gate dreams, and that I can't remember, like I can't really remember them, but I just remember because Baldur's Gate was so intense. Like,
I love
have
Baldur's
you
Gate.
played?
So
Yeah.
good. It's so good.
So
I
like
haven't finished it. That's how good it is for me. I got up to what is it, chapter 3 or whatever,
y-
and I just like I was too engaged with the story, and I was just like, and that was like 100-hour playthrough or whatever, and
wow,
I just got to Act
Act 3.
3, and I'm just like,
Yeah,
I need
because
to
it's
take a, like, I wasn't sleeping, like I was playing too much, and I was just like, I need to step back.
it's and it was because it's so like engaging with the brain of everything that's going on. The story's so good, the way
Yeah.
the characters are like portrayed, and like the way the story's told, you get so involved. I'd be going to bed. I'd be having like vivid dreams about like Baldur's Gate and like the
Yeah.
characters and just playing it. And yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's a problem or not, but
Do you have a favorite mainline character?
ooh, that's a tricky one. Um, so probably, oh,
Because I know a lot of
oh,
people go for like Astarion, or they go for
yeah.
Shadowheart.
To be honest, I actually don't mind. So I did the Dark Urge playthrough.
Mm-hmm.
So the Dark Urge is probably like you have to do the Dark Urge at some point because it's actually technically canon.
Yeah.
So the Dark Urge playthrough, so their story is actually quite good. But besides the Dark Urge being like obviously the character you play as anyway, I would say Lae'zel
Lae'zel.
probably would be
Okay.
because she's got the most interesting storyline.
Yeah.
Well, not they're actually all quite interesting, but
Mm.
her storyline goes from where she's quite a negative character and quite a hard character to deal with, and she kind of turns to being a very good character.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a big weird narrative that goes on with her that's quite interesting to follow along with. Um, so I found her kind of storyline to be probably one of the most interesting. Shadowhearts is good, and I think Shadowhearts is a good character, and I think
Mm.
I know people kind of go, oh well, Shadowheart, blah blah, blah, you're just like simping for Shadowheart, but but like there's actually merit to her character. She's actually a
Yeah.
really well done character.
Yeah.
And also clerics are very underrated. So she's well, a lot of people don't use it properly, and I think
Yeah.
that's the tricky thing. So one of my playthroughs I did on YouTube, my first one that popped off was a all cleric run. I got everyone reclassed them all
Oh,
as clerics,
nice.
and it's freaking awesome. They're a great class. Um,
I I can't go past Karlach. Karlach's my favorite. I don't like,
yeah,
it's that golden retriever energy. It's that,
yep.
like, it's the it's she's a barbarian, so like that's my class. Anything that has like a barbarian in it, I'm playing that. and I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah, no, she. I mean, and they're all good. Like, and that's the thing. It's
That's
so
the
hard for me to pick one.
we say like every single
Asterian's
one of them
acting
is
is really
good.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to pick a particular one. Like Asterian is like first class acting. Like he does such
Oh,
a good
so
job.
good. So good.
It's
Yep.
his acting is fantastic.
Sorry, I've
But
derailed the conversation.
that's right. I can talk about Baldur's Gate forever. It's such a good game.
So could I.
But that Baldur's Gate is one of those games where so like I burnt myself out on
Yeah.
chasing YouTube. So like I played through Baldur's Gate the first time, my first playthrough, and I really enjoyed it. I was like, I can make a YouTube video of this. I'm going to try and do a all cleric run and post that up and just, I'll see how it goes. And it went off. It went really well. And
Yeah.
so I did another, and so that was a full 100-hour playthrough of an all cleric run.
Yeah.
And that was turned into 3 videos. And I was like, I'll do this again. And everyone's like, do another class. And I was like, I'll do rogue. So I did all rogue. And by the end of the rogue run, I'm like, I've had enough of this. This is a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah.
I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
Because not
Especially,
only am
like
I,
if every playthrough is 100 hours too, that's a lot. Like that's a lot.
it's,
It's
not
so
only am I
much.
doing 100 hours of playthrough, but I'm editing 100
Yeah.
hours of content
Yeah.
and posting that on
That's
YouTube, writing scripts for it.
it's a
It was
it's a lot.
a lot of
It's a lot
work.
of work. And if you're a one man band or or a one woman band or whatever, um it's it's so much work. But like the audience don't necessarily see that. They see the end result. They see the video. They don't
Mm.
see the month of recording and editing and just sitting in front of a computer like drinking cups of coffee in the middle of the night. Like they don't see that.
Oh, it was a lot. It was a lot of work. It taught me a lot. I got very efficient with DaVinci Resolve.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a lot of work. I
Yeah.
can't. I want to play Baldur's Gate again, but like I still can't just look at it like
Yeah.
without going.
Yeah,
Because I
it's
already
just you
know
just
everything
need
as
that
well.
little bit of a break. That's it.
Yeah.
Just step
Yep.
away from it a little bit and then come back to it.
Come back to it. All right. So we're getting towards a bit of the tail end of our of the interview. So what would be the number one tip you would have for a creator or a streamer who's just starting out?
Don't be afraid to learn stuff.
Mm,
Like that's kind of it. Like that it's just like
mm,
learn just go out and learn stuff. If it's like okay, if you want to sort of improve your stream, it's like okay, like which areas would you like to learn about?
yeah.
I would always say audio is king. So
Hmm.
like learn about audio. If you're wanting to learn
Yep.
about video, you don't go out and spend money on like a new fancy camera because that's not going to improve the image quality. Lighting is key. You can get really great shots with really cheap equipment from Kmart or whatever, but
Yeah.
lighting is sort of the way to go there. And it's just finding crossovers with other realms. So I know like definitely a resource that I really utilize to sort of better my image and lighting is photography resources, because
Yeah.
it's all very much just the same principles. Like it's just a
Mm,
frame that you're just trying to make look nice, getting in a sort of edge light to differentiate you from the background, getting a one key light to just get something, and then you don't need this many lights, but just something to a point of interest in the background or whatever, and that
mm,
can do absolute wonders. But it's just it's a wealth of knowledge, and that can be extremely useful in other applications outside of streaming. So like even if you decide later on like, hey, streaming is not for me, man, like you've learned all of this really cool stuff, and that I think that's
yeah.
really useful. So yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. For
that's
sure.
what I would say. Yeah, hey, new streamers, learn stuff.
Yeah, I mean, YouTube's a great resource. I
Absolutely.
turn to YouTube for everything. That's
Mhm.
how I got my YouTube channel to where it's at.
Yeah,
So I got pretty good on Twitch. Um, and so yeah, you've just got to constantly you got to be open to learning too, and
yeah,
don't throw yourself against the wall. Because I know a lot of creators do this. I used to do it as well. Throw yourself at the wall and just expect to grow without like testing things, but then without looking at how other people are doing or asking for advice, because
yeah,
people have done it. There are resources out there. You don't have to do it you don't have to learn it the hard way, and there's no shame in learning from other people.
No, you don't
Like,
have to do it alone. Like we've all started from, the same point. And
mm,
so, it's and that's where building a relationship with other streamers comes in really handy, building other creators. And, hey, if they're doing it too, chances are you've got a similar hobby and interest, and
yeah,
a bond can form there that's sort of stronger than just sort of like we're two creators. It's like, no, you can form friendships and stuff like that. I've got
yeah.
lifelong
Some of
friendships
my
now that
yeah,
have came from streaming, and that's crazy.
yeah,
Like that's so good, and it's just mutual interests and stuff
yeah.
like
Some
that.
of
Yeah,
my best friends all from this space. It's
yeah.
fantastic. Yeah. Um, I did have something else to say then, but it's gone now.
That's all right. That's me from earlier. Like you
Yeah.
just lost it.
Oh, there's a couple of thoughts
It's around here
flying around
somewhere. You
there.
need to get the net out.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, so what I was going to say was, if you've made it this far into this video, then you're already on the right track. You're already like you're committing to learning. You're wanting to learn more, and you're learning from other people who are in the space. So, just keep doing this, and
Mm,
keep learning and keep absorbing information, and eventually, you'll do the right things in the right order sometime and pop off.
yeah, yeah. I think it's just talk to people. Talk like just go out there and discuss it with your friends and be like, hey,
Mm,
is this good? Is this bad?
be
Don't be,
honest.
yeah, be honest, give feedback, don't be mean.
Mm,
Don't
yeah.
give mean feedback, but like yeah, definitely just go out there and talk with people and be a part of like sort of a wider community and
Mm.
enjoy the process of creating something that's, hasn't been made before, you know?
Yeah, and as you said earlier, I think right at the start is learn from yourself. So like, you know, watch back your streams, watch back your content, and be honest with yourself. Is this enjoyable? Are people going to enjoy this? Is there value in this?
Mm,
How can I make this more valuable? So, it's one thing to say, is this valuable, or like, am I creating good content? Am I actually good at this? Well, it's like change your perspective. How can I make this better?
mm.
Like, how can I improve on this?
Just on the value of it, the value doesn't necessarily, because that's also a different question in itself. Is like, oh, what value am I bringing? It's like the value doesn't,
Mm,
it can be as simple as just like, is this funny, is this entertaining? I a lot of my sort of social media content, it's an outlet for learning. So
yeah.
I'm not worrying about the metrics of the video. I'm just,
Mm,
the worth that I'm getting from the video is just like, oh, I learnt a new process in making that video. So that was the
yep.
worth for me, and getting that
Mm,
that worth there. So it doesn't necessarily have to be
yeah.
a metric based sort of thing. It can be very personal based. Like, hey, did I enjoy today's stream? Did I have fun? And if that's the
Yeah.
metric you want to measure yourself by, you will be the happiest person
I
around.
that's probably the best metric to measure yourself by, really.
Yeah.
Like, did I enjoy this stream? Like, forget about the numbers, because
Mhm.
ultimately, if you're not enjoying the stream, your viewers are going to feel it, and
Yep.
they're not going to enjoy it either. If you're enjoying your stream, it has a flow-on effect of your viewers enjoying the stream as well. And then
Yeah.
you can, you know, you'll just be you'll have this snowballing effect. And the moment you start focusing too much on the numbers and you're not enjoying it, your viewers won't enjoy it, but you probably
Yeah.
won't make that connection
No,
until it's already happened, right?
I definitely haven't made that connection in past, and there's definitely that balancing act of like, how much do I look at numbers versus how much do I look at enjoyment? And just like, if I'm
Mm,
chasing numbers, it's one of those rabbit holes that you can go down where it's the internet, engagement baiting, negativity, all of that sort of
mm,
stuff that drives numbers like crazy. So like there is a sort of like, you gotta step away from that and be like, no, like that's it, but like that's hard
I
content to
mean,
make on a soul like level. That hurts your soul to
yeah, I
make
mean,
that
like, so, like,
stuff.
there's like, you want to create engaging content, but you don't want to like disgrace yourself to
Yeah,
do
pretty
so.
much.
Like, there's a point in which you can, like, and everyone's got a different threshold on what they're
Yeah.
willing to disgrace
like
themselves by it.
being a little
I
cheeky
feel
with
it's
a clickbait title, like that can be a little fun from time to time, but like doing it every single stream, like probably not.
all right. So because this is all a learning journey, and we're all here to learn. So what is one thing that you would like to learn more about in this space?
Oh, one thing I would like to learn more about is definitely video editing has been my like hyper fixation for the last year, and being able to I've recently gotten into I want to start doing like vlogging a bit more,
Hmm.
and vlogging sort of the learning journey of the experience of learning the art of like a vlog, and being like, hey, like how do I learn this thing, but then how do I
Mm.
talk about it while I'm doing the thing, and like that aspect of it is just like it's really intriguing to me.
It's like
And so
journaling almost.
yeah, it is. It's very much journaling, but like journaling in a sort of creative outlet, and like how am I making this thing? How am I going about making this video? And in the hopes of just like, oh, like maybe somebody else can learn from that as well. And like, because I'm learning from nothing. I didn't go to media school. I don't have media
Mm.
training or anything like that. It's just like a lot of what I've learned is just from YouTube,
Yeah.
just like just experience.
And I think a lot of people would argue that that's the best way to learn. Like it's as much as like there's probably value in going to university. The thing about going to university is you're learning the same thing that everybody else is learning.
Mm,
Um, and so like if you're learning by doing it yourself and learning from like the World Wide Web of YouTube, you're learning your own way to do stuff. And in the
yeah.
creative space, that's quite valuable. Learning
Mm.
how to be creative and doing things creatively.
Creativity is it's a hard skill to teach, but it's a very personal skill to learn as well. So like
Mm.
going to a lecture and being told what creativity is isn't
Yeah.
necessary. Like there's value in that, sure, and there's value in learning how to use DaVinci Resolve or any of the Adobe suite. Like there's value
Mm.
in that, absolutely, and that can gear you up to working in a professional sense. But if you're interested in making your own stuff, I think the best advice out there is just go out and start making stuff, right? Learn
Yeah.
the process just by doing, like
Mm.
and yeah, I think that's what I want to do more of. It's just I want to go out and I want to make more. If that makes sense, because like it's fun.
Awesome.
You never know what you're going to learn.
Yeah. Well, I mean, stay tuned to the podcast because on the an upcoming episode, I do have someone coming in to talk about how to edit videos. So there is that on the cards.
Oh, exciting!
Um, but yes, thank you for your time tonight. Oh, today, I guess it is tonight. Yes, thank you for your time tonight, Elliot. It's been fantastic having you here. You've a wealth of knowledge, and I hope the audience have learned something. And if you have, and if you've enjoyed this video, and you want to see me get some big and exciting guests up on here, and learn from all kinds of different people in the creative space, subscribe to the channel. We'll grow it, and we'll all learn together. So thank you for watching.
Thank you.